Very recording.
A few lines down in the second section, the line begins with the word atzmus. Atzmus Ein Sof. The Rebbe is explaining the whole quote from the Medrash, and the Pardes, and then the Medrash, about the need for safety and cotton and so forth. And finally he says that the Medrash says, that he loves the cotton, the small one, more than all the others. What is the need from the cotton? So the Rebbe explains that the ultimate significance in Hamshach of Elokus is not the Elokus that finds a keli, a means by which you can relate to it from your vantage point. It is the Elokus that's called atzmus Ein Sof. You have the line that begins atzmus Ein Sof. The essence of the Ein Sof. And we explained many times, and it's never too many, that atzmus is not, there's no worldly way to accept and to relate to atzmus, except by bittul, by accepting it. There is no way to understand what is an etzem. Etzem is that which precedes world completely. Quote again the Rambam, Motzei Rishon, a first being. We cannot even begin to place that concept of first being in our thought process. A first being means a being that is not described as a being at all. Because being by us means being relative to something else. So the ultimate Indian is to be mamshich atzmus Ein Sof, the etzem, that in our world we should have the Indian from etzem. Okay, let's start at this line. Atzmus Ein Sof. Hainu, ha'oyer shebechinas Ein Sof bebechinas bli gvul. This is that oyer that is bebechinas Ein Sof. We mentioned many times bechinas and hoping slowly it settles in. Bechinas means what is its internal defining element. Like he said many times, the word bechina. Thank you very much. Bechina means to test. And what is it to test? Test means just like you test the blood for its content. Which means that you do not, by observing the blood and studying it, this is not going to show it. It shows itself on a test. In other words, when you forget about how you perceive it, how you observe it, but you allow it to tell you what it is, then it tests for what it is. It comes out with its message. This is bechinas Ein Sof. This is bechinas. If you test for it, you'll find that this is Ein Sof. It's not in your realm. It's not within your orientation. You don't have a base in your own orientation to relate to it and to understand it. And this is the Indian to be mamshich bechinas Ein Sof. And I mentioned many times, why do we use the word bechinas mamshech ein soif? Because to say be mamshech ein soif is not a valid statement from our vantage point. Because what is ein soif? But bechinas ein soif. In other words, it is ein soif because of its own defining elements, not because of what we understand, what we are looking for. That's what mamshech bechinas ein soif. Mamshech, that which is not within our orientation, our understanding. This is the ultimate goal of all avodah.
Of all what?
Goal of avodah, of bring atzmus into the world. Okay, towards the end of that line. The bigdei shel hamshich bechinas atzmus ein soif, where in order to be mamshich the bechina of atzmus ein soif, zehu dafka, this is exclusively alidei heder hakelim, by the approach of heder hakelim, or absence of kelim. Let's project that from our vantage point. What means heder hakelim, atzmus hakelim, absence of kelim. I'm not looking to know what I'm getting. I'm looking to be related to that which I don't know what it is. And I cannot know what it is. And yet, that is what I'm dedicating myself to. This is absence of heder hakelim. Look at these words. We already had these words. We already went through this. It's really a very kind of an interesting statement. The heder hakeli, with the absence of keli, zehu keli atzmus ein soif. The absence of keli, this is the keli for atzmus ein soif. Again, like I mentioned many times, and here is clearly, this to understand this is a yasal behine. This is not something that we can assemble with our seichel. This is something which is much deeper than seichel. This is the truth of the nefesh itself. Heder hakeli zehu hakeli atzmus ein soif.
To remain on this call, press 1.
This is mine. This is not mine. This is mine. Okay, yeah.
Disconnected.
He's going to elaborate a little bit on this. Heder hakeli, this is a keli for atzmus ein soif. In other words, he becomes a keli for atzmus ein soif by being by heder hakeli, by absence. Who inyan? What is this inyan? What kind of keli is it? Heder hakeli. This is the inyan habitul shel hamayla mitam v'das. The beetle, the dedication, that is above reason and knowledge. Which ultimately, this is the true principle of beetle. And Zohar explained, why is this the true inner principle of beetle? For behold, habitul shapitam v'das, the beetle that is based on reason, he's misbattled because there is something great to be gotten, to relate to. This is not bittul amiti. This is not the true beetle. Why is it not a beetle amiti? Sheharei ha-seichel mechayiv kein. Since the seichel directs him to that beetle. I'll say the parentheses and then we'll discuss it a little bit. Or memela, since it is this seichel that leads him to this beetle, therefore, ho bibchines mitzius bibitulei. While he in the beetle, in the center of beetle, he is in a mitzius state. The principle of beetle really should put some focus on it. In our orientation, in our world, beetle is a negative. Why beetle? I want to understand. And the more I focus, the more I understand, the better it is. The better I understand something, the more I'm related to it. Absolutely to it. Let us again place it in a moshel environment. You drive a car. You know, those of us who know what's doing under the hood, those of us who do not know what's doing under the hood. Nonetheless, we know that when we put the ignition on, something occurs and the car is able to move. And we have the ability to control which direction it moves, at what speed it moves. And in order that, in fact, we should be able to drive this car, we have to learn how to drive it. How do you turn the wheels to go right? How do you turn the wheels to go left? How do you make the car go frontwards? How do you make the car go backwards? All of these things you must learn. And in order to operate a car, you have to recognize and accept these limitations. You can't just sit down and say, I want to go this way. You have to do the right thing to go, they should go this way. Otherwise it will be a disaster. This is what's called the beetle of B'tam V'das. You are doing what you're supposed to do, but in conformity with what you're trying to accomplish. You are defining what you're trying to accomplish and how to get there. So far, yes indeed, we accept the limitations and the requirements for the operation of a car, but we accept them because they conform to what we want. And we know exactly how that happens. Ultimately, even if you don't understand how it works, But you know there's a motor that pushes the wheels and so forth, and you turn the steering wheel this way, the car will go this way, and so forth. Okay, follow the following, please. So far, you were engaged in dealing with something which is within your realm, your car, that which is going to transport you and give you, so to speak, the comfort and the laxity to move wherever you want to move. Let's take this entire arena, this entire reality, and place this in the bigger reality. You drive the car on a street. You drive the car in a city. You drive the car in a country. You drive the car, so to speak, in a different reality than that which is your identity. The city and the street is not of your design. The city and the street is of a much greater reality than the one that you relate to when you sit in the car. When you sit and drive the car, you go through the city streets. The word I was looking for before is a continent. You go through the city streets. You are not going through the city streets because you designed the city streets to be the way you want it to be. Like the car, you move the car, you turn the car in the direction you want to go. You're totally conforming to the design of the city the way it is. And this has to be a total confirmation. Or conformation. Total. You can't say, look, this street is not in this place today. I have to go to this house because that's the better way to go. You're totally out of the picture in terms of your decision, of your understanding of what's going on. You have to be 100% dedicated, not accepting, dedicated to the reality of this city. This is what gives you the place where to put your car and what to be. If somebody lacks this beetle in terms of this beetle, this cognizant that there is you're acting, you're performing, you're experiencing within a bigger reality, and that's the reality within which you want to or you have to operate. And he wants to go, so to speak, act in his own perception, his own definition of where and how to go. It is a call for a disaster, and he certainly doesn't belong in the streets, in the street of the city. This is called the beetle shelamaylo mitam vadas. What's mitam vadas? This is what I want to be. It did not come to him via recognition that this is the right way to design a city. It came to him because this is where he wants to be, period. These are the words that the Rebbe says. The heder hakeli, the absence of keli, That's the keli for atzmus ein Yisrael. The absence of judgment as to what is the right way that the street should go, the street should go, and how, that is what allows you to be in the city. Not only due to the fact that otherwise you're going to get tickets, or otherwise you're going to accidents. Or not. This is what it means to be in the city. You want to be in the city. Period. You want to have the reality itself. This is the head of Hakili. This is the keli for atzmus ein Yisrael. A person who cannot step out of himself and has to be self-centered, self-contained, and know what am I doing, he's not welcome in the city, period. He cannot operate within the city. To translate this to what we are talking over here, there is atzmus ein Yisrael. There's the etzem, which is beyond your, not beyond your understanding, beyond your awareness and knowledge of what it is about. This is a truth that precedes your level of orientation. This is exactly where you want to be. And the way to be there is the absence of keli. The absence of absorption, of recognition of what I'm doing. Now let's look inside, please. Beetle shel bala mit amadas. I'm starting in the middle. The line begins with the word habitul. Habitul shel bala mit amadas. This is the beetle that's above reason. In other words, this doesn't involve your orientation, your awareness that you're doing the right thing. This is beetle because the element or the aspect that you will be bottled to is not within your knowledge at all. The Maimat Amadas. Shezehu amitas in habitul, which is the true principle of beetle. The true beetle, let's take it back into our motion of the car. The true principle of beetle is what? Not that I'm going to conform with something. I'm going to be part of that reality. Because of the beetle, I'm allowed therein. And I'm therein itself. That's in beetle. There is no second entity here. We understand it from the motion of the car. The hine, for behold. Okay, again, remember the word behine means behold, think about it, orient within your own perception. Ha-beetle shapit amadas, the beetle that is based on reason. Einoi beetle amiti, it is not a beetle amiti. Was it not beetle, not a true beetle? You're bottled, but you are a separate entity. You're still operating, so to speak, within your own orientation. But for the sake of your orientation, you conform to some rules. Beetle meat. This is not bittul amita. Why is it not bittul amita? Bittul amita means, as I said before, is that which unites you with this to which you are bottom. Apitam with us, it's not bittul amita. Since the seichel is what directs you to there. So this is something which is within you that gives you that recognition. So you're not bittul, you're not a non-entity. You're not one with that to which you are bottom. And therefore in parentheses, since the seichel is mechayeb, the seichel directs him to this, therefore it follows who b'pchinas mitzias b'bitul. He is in a state of mitzias. He is a presence b'bitul. What he is by his bottle. Within the bitul itself is a mitzias. He is bottle because he understands what's the right thing. That's not bitul. He is not one thing with which to which he is bottle. If you think the muscle of the car and driving in the city, you'll be able to see this very clearly. If one drives in the street because that's the right thing, it's not going to work. He has to follow the way the street goes without any judgment. After the parentheses, v'gam, and furthermore, this is all explaining why this is not a true bittul. He is a mitzias while he is bottle because it is his seichel that directs him to this bittul. And furthermore, v'yinyan ha-bittul hu, the whole phenomenon of bittul in this person's orientation, in apitam v'das, that is based on his reasoning, the whole inyan of the whole ita, the whole intent of the meaning of the purpose of the bittul, who be shvil, it is for the sake, shalidei zen asa keil gilead, that as a result of this bittul, he becomes a keli, a receptacle for gili oil. He receives, you're talking about clearly, he receives this higher gili. He receives the higher cognizance. It's wonderful. But this is the description of his bittul. He wants to receive this higher oil. Shegam zeh ha-seichel mechayev. Where this too, that we receive the higher oil, is also ha-seichel mechayev, the seichel directs to that. Shetzrichim li ish keli. That you need to be a keli. You need to be a receptacle. You have to be accepting of the higher oil. That is a seichel, that is a mitzias. So you're not one with this which you're accepting. V'gam, furthermore, this is all important. Yesh b'zeh hagbolo. Within this relationship, with this acceptance, there is a hagbolo, there is a limit. He's not going to accept it without any scrutiny. L'fiyefan ha-seichel. According to the way the seichel that compels you and directs you logically, that this is the way it should be. This is that brings the bittul. Therefore, the limit of the seichel is that which describes your level of bittul. Based on the basis of the fact that he wants to be a keli, and the manner and the reason and what he perceives of what it means to be a keli, according to this, this is what describes by him who habitel shalei. This is that describes his beetle because it's based on what makes him into a keli. The meshum calls there, where due to all of these points that the seichel itself is involved and he's actually describing the beetle. He's giving the beetle a definition. Because of all this, ein a beetle amiti. It's not a beetle amiti. It's not a true beetle. And we explained before we started mentioning this, what is the phenomenon of beetle? What is so significant about beetle? The significance about beetle is that you want to be one with that reality. Just as in our motion of the car. The car you cannot drive the car if you perceive yourself to be outside of the city.
You don't really desire to be one with that reality. You have your destination in mind.
Sorry?
You have your destination.
No, wrong. The destination is within that city.
I'm not just roaming around. I've chosen these streets.
It makes a difference.
There.
No, but the reason you've chosen the street is because you belong there. If you don't belong there, then you think you don't belong there. This is, like we said many times, you build a house on Earth, not on Mars. There's a reality to which you relate before you even start. And if you fail to recognize that, there is no deeper reality by you except for that which you identify with. You don't belong there. It's a disastrous experience. Yes, it is the place that you chose, but you chose it because it's within the reality that you belong to.
Right, but in the Nimshal it was not Lefi Tam V'das. By this mashal, I cannot help feeling like the route you choose is Lefi Tam V'das.
The route you choose is Tam V'das, but why you want to be in there in the first place? True. You definitely there is Tam V'das. But Tam V'das is on a secondary level. You want to get someplace, how do you get there? But why do you want to be there in the first place? This is not a Tam V'das. Like I said, you can build a house on Mars, but you choose to build a house on Earth. This is not a Tam V'das. That precedes you, Tam V'das.
Choosing Earth is not based on any qualities.
It's not even a choice. It's just the reality itself. You want to be in the real world. Take it easy, Yitzchak. Take it easy. Not everyone is an artist. We have our seichel, called Tam V'das. As we said many times, please think about this. Tam V'das, right and wrong, good and bad, is based on something superior to that definition, to those definitions.